Discovery, go at throttle up. 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 Discovery, go at throttle up.
Hello everyone. Good morning. How's everybody doing today? Welcome to Eric Johnson Mission Control with no green screen. Is there no green screen? Who did this? Who did? It's those damn hat changes. It's those dang hat changes, man. Chat, this is your fault. It's the season of giving. Season of giving? Giving? I don't understand that. Just saw into another dimension. Dude, I don't know why it does that, like, Corona thing on the back wall, but that's what it does. I hate channel points. I hate them so much. But we're going to fly the shuttle. You know what that means. That means we're feeling the need for speed. I gift you a sub and you use channel points for a garage stretch break. I don't have a circular light, Alex. There's no circular lights in here. I have 2 Elgato fill lights and then 2 studio fill lights. I don't do that. That's influencer nonsense. Get a real lighting setup. You're dangerous, but you can be my wingman anytime. I'm okay if you don't want to. No, Cammy, you already did it. You already did it. We're here. Well, I'm not an optics expert. It's lighting. I went to film school, son. I know how to do a point lighting system. Three-point lighting, am I right? Anybody? Anybody? 3-point lighting? Oh yeah, your boy. Let's talk about the snowblower. What's wrong with the snowblower? Oh, Kyron, I stayed up after that stream and finished it. It's together. See? Yeah, it's already together. It is leaking oil because I realized I permatext the gearbox back together and then poured oil in it immediately, so it probably didn't seal very well. If you look, it is nice and leaky. Man, that blows. Yes, snow. Yes. The SpaceX doing 2 launches tomorrow. 3, actually. Yep. Yeah, SWAT got scrubbed. It got moved till tomorrow morning, so that's good. Again, I can't thank you enough for the sub. It's all good. All good. Jens, what are you trying to do there? What oil did you use? 5W30 used motor oil from the 97. Yeah, you can see the jugs. The jugs are over there. You can't really see them. Yeah, Alex. Truck is on wheels. Oh, fancy. Yeah. I got to maintain my clean room environment in there. Tidris today. I want to get all 3 launches figured out. We're going to get all 3 launches figured out, and we will see if we can do some commercial missions in with it, too. Is it Tidris time? It do be Tidris time, yes. It be it's Tidris time. Oh, yes. It's time for tea. Driss. Soyuz is broken. I saw that, Phil. Right when I logged off. There's I don't want to cause alarm. I don't want to cause alarm, but also... Hey, Alucard. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah. That's not good. I saw this last night. What do you think it is? Okay. It could be a lot of things, guys. And I don't want to jump to conclusions, and you got to be careful about speculation. So the question that I got asked by a bunch of people last night, my phone started exploding. The question I got asked the most last night was, is this going to affect the ISS's orbit? No. Coolant leaks, even a high-pressure coolant system is nowhere near like a thruster, the amount of force that a thruster would put out. The control moment gyros on the ISS should be enough to compensate for it. So you don't need to worry about the ISS moving out of orbit. Coolant system, yeah, the coolant system is pressurized nowhere near like the chamber pressure of an RCS thruster, right? So I don't even think they needed to fire the engines on anything. I think the control moment gyros was more than enough to compensate. You guys got to remember, the CMGs, so that the gyros on the ISS were almost enough to compensate Nauka firing full force out of control and turning the entire station pitch down. They almost compensated for it. It was close. And then even when they shut off Nauka, the CMGs put it back into place. So those gyros on the ISS are huge. They're about 1 meter wide gyros, and there's 4 of them. They're big. So, what caused the coolant leak? I know in this day and age, people are going to basically jump to, oh, the Russians, it's junk. It's junk because, guys, it is much more likely a meteorite. This is micrometeorite debris, if I had to guess. That's what my money's on.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
This is an interesting point. It's definitely... Okay, I'll check that in a second, Phil. I would put my money on I would put my money on meteorites. That's definitely micrometeorite impact. It's in the wrong spot. Coolant, that Soyuz, the MS-22 Soyuz has been up there since September. It's been up there since, what is it, September 19th or something? It's been up there for a good while. This stuff doesn't happen. It just doesn't break randomly. So either they change the configuration on the Soyuz for the EVA, which doesn't make a lot of sense, or it got hit from something. Stuff pretty much stays the same up there in space if you don't change anything. Like, for instance, the Apollo 13 spacecraft was doing just fine until they stirred the tanks, right? And then you had a problem after that. So, Soyuz is tried and tested. I've never seen, in all of my years covering spaceflight, I've never seen one with a Soyuz leak, with a coolant leak like this. I've never seen Soyuz leak like that, ever. Or Progress, for that matter. So I'm going to chalk this one up to a meteorite strike. But I don't know. We have to wait until we hear what's going on. Now, what is leaking out? So it's coolant from the crew module. The crew module life support systems. Well, not necessarily life support systems. It's coolant to keep the systems cool on the command module, which basically is part of the... It's part of the life support systems. Remember how Orion the other day had to wait for the ammonia boiling off? Well, that's ammonia popping out of Soyuz. Soyuz uses a closed-loop ammonia system on the command module for life support systems post-SM separation. So this is part of the descent systems, or the systems. It's part of the systems that are needed to come back down and not die. It gets a little bit warm inside of the crew tank. Inside of the crew capsule during re-entry. I don't think I need to say why. Whether this Soyuz is good to come back down or not, I don't know. That's obviously not good. Spraying ammonia on the outside of the space station is not good for it. Spraying ammonia on anything is not good for it. Ammonia clean, like if they put that in like bleach and stuff to clean surfaces, you don't really want that on the outside of your space station. I'm not so sure. I'm not sure it's a coolant leak. I mean, all the sci-fi I've seen, when there's a coolant leak, somebody has to roll dramatically under the closing bulkhead. Till I see a video of that, I'm not convinced. Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. So, if you want to take anything away from this, nobody panicked. And you can read that two ways. Nobody panicked. Nobody's freaking out for one of two reasons. Well, one, you should never panic. You don't ever go into, oh my god mode. That's only what that's movies. That's the movies. You don't do that crap when you're a flight controller or a mission controller. You don't do that. You got to stay calm. You got to figure out what's going on, right? Two, we haven't seen any actions taken. They chose to basically wait 24 hours to figure out what's going on, to figure out why that thing is leaking. So that tells me one of two things. Actually, that just tells me one thing. It's non-consequential, whatever it is. Whatever that coolant leak is. I mean, don't get me wrong. You really don't want this to happen. But if a meteorite strikes and it hits in the right spot, boom, coolant leak. This is a problem that could have happened to the space shuttle. In fact, a coolant leak would have caused the space shuttle to scrub a mission up until about 2000, give or take, when they made the radiators on it a parallel function. They redid the cooling lines on the shuttle in the late 90s when they upgraded the orbiters to the glass cockpit. They redid them to have the shuttle's 4 radiator panels be in parallel. So if there is a coolant leak, it doesn't scrub the mission immediately. That was a big upgrade to the shuttle, amongst the glass cockpit and a bunch of other things. I think they called it the Orbiter Modernization Program, if I'm remembering right. Sorry, my coffee's done. So, We're not supposed to panic and cry for George Clooney. No. Dragon could have that problem too? Are you asking me or are you telling? Sure. Any spacecraft. Coolant is a big issue
Discovery,
in
go
space.
and
That's a
throttle
big problem. Hey, Allie. Almost to your badge. 58 months. Thanks, buddy. So... What was I talking about? Help me, Tom Cruise. Nice. Okay, coolant systems, excuse me. So coolant systems are kind of a... That's kind of a big problem with space. So the problem in space is everybody says space is cold, but that's not really what's going on. If you outgas something into space, it's going to freeze. The reason why is because it's going to go through phase change. Why is it going to go through phase change? Stuff goes through phase changes because the temperature drops basically to nothing. It drops to absolute zero. So, because there's nothing in space. There's nothing there. There's no matter. It's just there's nothing up there. Like, don't get me wrong. There is air and stuff. Little air molecules, micrometeorites up there. But since it's in the vacuum... And since you're lowering the pressure so fast, the pressure drops from like 14 psi or whatever that coolant system is, right, down to zero, it freezes instantaneously. It's like when SpaceX outgasses liquid oxygen to gaseous oxygen on the Merlin engine on their second stage. You see solid oxygen happen. The reason why you see solid oxygen happen is because that oxygen is going from liquid to gas, and then immediately when the GOX hits the vacuum, temperature falls, and then it falls to nothing, and then it just stays like ice. And then the crazy thing is that when that ice goes, it'll stay like that, and when the ice hits the sun, then it'll sublimate back into gas because it's getting heated up by the sun. And therein lies the problem with coolant. With coolant in space, it's not about keeping the spacecraft cold. It's about keeping the spacecraft cold. Because the spacecraft wants to get hot. Because, think about it, that solid oxygen, when it hits the sun, it's going to immediately melt. Why is it going to immediately melt? Because it's absorbing the heat, right? But up there, there's no way to convect heat away. There's no air to carry that heat. That heat just literally stays there. You absorb the heat, and it just stays there. You have to find a way to... They have to find a way to keep the spacecraft cool, or else they will melt from the inside out. Now, how do they do that? They run coolant through radiator panels, and they use infrared. They use infrared to keep it cool. They use infrared light. That's the short story. There's a much better way to explain that. We've talked about that before. They basically run coolant through a radiator. You have to radiate the heat. You can't convect it, so they radiate it through infrared, which is actually pretty smart. That's really freaking smart, actually. So, coolant systems are needed, so the spacecraft basically doesn't melt itself from the inside out. If it absorbs too much heat, there's no way for the spacecraft to sweat. You know, like if you and I get hot, right? You sweat, and you know, the sweat exchanges heat with the atmosphere, right? That's how you stay cool. There's no way for a spacecraft to sweat like that. Because you're in a vacuum. There's no air to carry the heat. So, coolant systems are a big deal. I mean, Star Trek had that right. Coolant leak, jettison the saucer section. If you have a coolant leak, you got a big problem. You have a big problem. Why did you link Chug Jug?
Discovery, go and throttle up.
I really want to vent coolant with you. How's your day so far? It's been educational. I didn't really like waking up at 6:30 this morning and then seeing that SWAT got scrubbed. That's nice. Oh, the weather outside is weather. It's for Christmas or something. Daitor, I've watched your channel for over 1,000 hours this year. On to the next 1,000. Thanks, man. Can't believe EJ knows the lyrics. /S. Take me to your Xbox to play Fortnite today. You could take it must be fire or not Loot Lake. Yeah, I know the lyrics. Yeah. I don't need to look at the lyrics. I can see it in chat. I don't need to know the lyrics. I've listened to that song unironically way too much. You think they have a plan to clean the station for the possibility of leaks? Clean the station. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. This is not good. The ISS coolant leak on Soyuz is not good. That is not a good thing, and it's leaked a lot of coolant. And they use ammonia cooling loops on the command module coolant systems. It's not bad that SWAT got scrubbed. If that doesn't affect the other launches, I think there might be the first time a rocket has launched 3 times in one day. Yeah. There's a content creator I watch that closes out their YouTube videos with that song. Is it still leaking? No, they stopped the leak, but micrometeorite style would be my guess. Spacecraft configurations don't... Like, it doesn't just sit there and pop a leak randomly, guys. Nothing in space happens randomly. Everything... Like, I'm not going to say everything can be predicted either, but there's a reason everything happens, right? Like, once again, the spacecraft got put into a failure mode. That's because something changed. What changed? Don't know. Could be micrometeorites. Could be a bunch of different things. I do not leak. You leak.
Listen, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
I'll leak. I'll take a leak for that much money. I guess I do leak. Jeez. I don't know why you do this, but all right. Merry Christmas. Now let's get that shuttle into space. Yeah, Merry Christmas, buddy. Is Brimo a pro Fortnite gamer? No. No. Not right now, just in general. Okay. Fellas, we also have the SN15 or 15. Starship 24 should be testing today, so we'll see. All right, so we got a lot of work to do today, so that's a really nice picture. How about Mick going to Mercedes? Thoughts? Hey, bit. Oh, he's the reserve driver. Mick Schumacher, il nuovo piloto reserva de Mercedes para 2023. He's a reserve driver for Mercedes. Yeah, that's what that says. Yeah. Good. Good. See? Guys, did I call that? That's what I'm talking about, man. Mercedes picked him up. So he's really bad, right? That's why Mercedes picked him up. Everybody says, oh, he's terrible, he's terrible, oh, he sucks, he's terrible. I don't think Mick was the problem. There's a reason why Mercedes picked him up. Bingo. Bingo. Someone from Italy, he's Shumi's son. He can learn from the best. Dude, that's what I mean, man. Mick has the potential. I really don't think he's the problem. I really don't think he was the problem. Ferrari's stupid for letting him go. I said it when there were words of it. I said it when it happened. And look, Mercedes, you literally just handed Mercedes a prodigy. You know, when Lewis retires, Mick's gonna take his spot, and you have Mick and George in the Mercedes. Is Ferrari trying to get me to not like them, or? Good evening. Is this a NASA channel? What's your situation on the ISS? Damage case. I'm not NASA. My logo just looks like NASA. But I do like spaceflight. I do like spaceflight. The situation on the ISS, and I can tell you about it. I'm a STEM streamer, dude. I teach people about. I teach people about what NASA's doing. If you want to know, so Soyuz has a coolant leak. Coolant leaks are not good for spacecrafts because spacecraft have trouble keeping cool in space because the sun is the short answer is that the sun is a lot brighter up there. It's a lot brighter. Stuff heats up a lot faster. You have to make sure that your spacecraft stays cool. Now that has to do a lot with vacuum and stuff. You know, there's no pressure up in space, so there's no pressure. There's nothing floating around there. There's nothing to exchange the heat with, so the heat just stays inside your spacecraft. Now, in terms of that Soyuz with the coolant leak, we don't know. Don't know what's going on. I know that coolant leaks are not good. They're not. That's not something you want. No, you're NASA and you play KSP. That's awesome. Sure. I'm not. I'm EJ. I'm not NASA. It's just me, Gabe Newell. Or Mick ends up like Bottas. Mick is only as good as his last race, which I believe he crashed in. He in Abu Dhabi he finished in the points, Hellfish, if I'm remembering correctly, I think. Oh, nice, Def. That's cool. I like Mick, but is he on George's level? We love to hate him, but still. George is a good driver. He just has a problem when he goes to try and fight somebody. When he tries to fight somebody, it's never his fault. Yeah, that's not a good thing. He doesn't know how to fight. Do you think Toto's going to let that fly? I'm telling you, what Mick needs is a team that's going to push him. He needs a team that's going to push him. All right? I don't think Haas was the answer for that. George is a very good driver. He's very quick in that car. He's very fast. And he'll win races with that thing next year. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So will Lewis. I think Mercedes is going to be competitive next year. It just took them a second to dial in that revised side pod. That was a huge difference. That's like changing the wings on your airplane. Hello, I'm new. What's the topic of your channel? Salvo, I am a STEM streamer. I play KSP, but we're talking about Formula 1 right now. And we talked about the coolant leak too. I'm going to fire up KSP, but I might switch over to Science and Technology because SpaceX is going to do a Starship test soon. So I want to see what's going on there. I think that somebody said in chat that cast already started. We already know that these things have redundant backups, so it's bad, but not something to lose sleep over. NASA didn't think it was Oculux. It's not a good thing. You don't want a coolant leak, that's for sure. Ship 24 testing, hypersonic. I don't know if there's a redundant coolant system, like a 2-loop coolant system on Soyuz Aqualux. I don't know, but I did say this like right at the beginning. What I do know is that, look, they didn't jettison Soyuz from the space station. You know, they didn't jettison the thing. They said sleep on it for 24 hours to review the data, which tells me that no one is in immediate danger. If someone was in immediate danger, it would have... If someone was in immediate danger, it would have... they would have taken more drastic action. You know, if your space station has a catastrophic coolant leak, you don't sit there and go, yeah, we'll fix it tomorrow. So, yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's really not an ideal scenario, though. But you have to wait. We have to wait and see what they tell us. It's only Soyuz. Soyuz's command module has a coolant leak. Yep. And they shut it off. It's not leaking anymore. It was leaking for about an hour last night. Yet it was still another piece of Russian hardware going haywire. Hellfish, I don't think that it's the Russian hardware, dude. I really don't. That coolant line, if there was something wrong with the hardware, that coolant line would have blown up right when they went into space, when the coolant loop system started working. Am I right? Stuff just doesn't change, dude. Stuff just doesn't change. This is more likely a micrometeorite strike or somebody putting the spacecraft into a failure mode that caused a coolant leak. Now, I can't figure out what you would do with the spacecraft to put it into a failure mode to cause a coolant leak, but then again, I'm not familiar with Soyuz's systems. This is much more likely an environmental thing. I'm like 75% sure it's a micrometeorite strike, but you got to prove it with data. It's a funny, and funnies need to be fixed. Why do people hate on the Russian space program? I don't think they hate so much on the Russian space program, Junie, but there's not a lot of fans of that country in the West right now. I think that has a lot more to do with it. Now, when I give you my analysis, man, that doesn't matter to me in this regard. I have opinions about that. You don't need to know them. It's not any of your business. I try to just report on the technical aspects of it, because what I've been really trying to do is make a concerted effort to stay in my frigging lane. Okay? I'm a spaceflight streamer. I talk to you about spaceflight and Formula 1 and a couple of other things, and that's it. Politics is not one of those things. You want to watch a political streamer, there's plenty of them on Twitch. People have postulated about a high beta angle orbit, much more sunlight than usual. Maybe. Yeah, Junie, I agree with you for what it's worth, but yeah, I try to keep the technical aspects of it, and I've been doing that for as long as I can remember. The only time where those two conflate each other is with the Chinese space program. I really don't like covering the Chinese space program because there's a lot of messed up stuff that they're doing, and I can't in good conscience make money, like profit off of covering the Chinese space program when I know people are dying for literally no reason. Yeah, I don't like that. You know, I know what people are going to say. The same argument could be made about the Russian space program, but it's not the Russian space program that's killing people now, is it? And you might not like my point of view on that. That's fair. But if the Russians weren't as involved in the ISS, I probably wouldn't be talking about them at all. This is a NASA problem too. So, in that regard, you know, it's good to kind of take a step back and look at the whole picture. To be fair, we give Boeing the same amount of crap. However, they are moving towards positive as their booster worked. Yeah. But fellas, I try to stay technical. Just stick to the technical stuff. Engineering doesn't lie. Numbers don't lie. Which is why I like covering that, because there's no room for people in their bajillion freaking opinions about whatever. 2 + 2 is 4. It's always going to equal 4. That's incorrect if you think anything else. And I know somebody's typing up something witty in chat. Well, actually, EJ, if 2 is actually the opposite of your mom, then 2 + 2 could equal horse. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Funny joke. Is good joke too? Yeah, oh yeah, we proved actually that 2 + 2 equals chair. That's correct. There's my well actually emotes. There you go. A horse has 4 legs, so it equals 4, Crashin', okay? That's the point. It's not even about context. It's just about not feeding the hate. Let's cover space news. Let's not trash talk what's irrelevant to this. Bingo. That's one thing that I try to make sure people do. Like, context really very much matters. But whatever. It is what it is. So, one thing, Hypersonic, that I know I can talk about confidently without context mattering so much is engineering, you know? But even then, context of statement depends on the stakeholder expectations of the engineering construct that you're trying to do, that you're trying to achieve. So, what does that mean? Okay. So, you guys know EJ hates canards, right? I hate canards. Canards are stupid. Canards are stupid when used as a band-aid to try and get your design to work correctly. If you implement, if your design is implemented with canards to achieve a certain goal and a certain result, then it's okay. That has a lot to do with the stakeholder expectations. What's called in engineering, it's called stakeholder expectations. Those stakeholder expectations, in context, make a lot more sense when you consider your base criteria, right? That's what I mean. So there are some contexts where canards are a stupid idea. You don't use it to fix your space. You don't use it to fix the vehicle. You use it to. You don't use it to fix the vehicle. You use it to achieve a result. That's like saying, man, I'm working on this snowblower. I could really use a third arm. In that context, 3 arms would be good, right? But in another context, oh man, this third arm that I have over here, I can't fit in a coat because coats are designed for 2 arms. You know what I mean? In that context, it's not a good thing. See what I mean? Don't try to grow another arm. That's probably not what you should be doing. They tried that in Fallout. It didn't end well. Yeah, they tried that in Fallout. It was not a good idea. Okay, I'll grow 2 more arms instead. Okay. All right, that's fair. That's fair. So if it's able to do crazy, if it's because you're trying to do crazy things, canards are okay. If it's because your craft doesn't fly with them, no. It's just, what are you trying to do, Hypersonic? Does the space shuttle need canards? No. In a hypersonic design, that would be a really bad idea. Because the space shuttle is designed to make as little of a plasma wake as possible. So it has delta wings, right? But if you look at something like the Eurofighter, what's the Eurofighter designed to do? The Eurofighter is designed to be an air superiority all-purpose fighter. So it's something analogous to an F-15 or a MiG-29, right? That's what the Eurofighter is supposed to do. The Eurofighter has canards to be able to outmaneuver other planes in a dogfight. Because that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to, because in Europe, right? In Europe, you're extreme, like in the context of the Cold War, you're going to get Su-25s, Su-37s, MiG-29s, MiG-21s coming at you in force. You need to be able to you need to be able to deal with the numbers. Okay? So being able to outturn that crazy number of planes and outmaneuver them is a pretty smart idea. I can think of another example. If the Cold War went hot, Soviet tanks and armor would have gone basically thundering right through Europe, Blitz style, like that other guy. You know what I'm talking about? So the U.S. needed a case scenario to be able to take out massive amounts of tanks. It's not that our tanks couldn't take out their tanks. The M1 Abrams is a formidable tank and definitely could roast on some T-72s and T-92s all day. Absolutely. It's a much superior weapon system. But it doesn't matter how good your weapon system is when you're going 100 against 1. Eventually, one of those tanks is going to get a good shot. So, another case scenario is taking a minigun and putting some wings on the side. That's what the A-10 was designed for. It's designed to take out Soviet armor because the Soviets don't, the idea is that the Soviets at the time didn't have as good of a tank as we did. But a tank is a tank. If you have 150 tanks and the other guy has 5, it doesn't matter. That does not make a difference. That's why the A-10 exists. It's a tank killer. It's designed to destroy enemy armor. So, when you need a plane that's designed to take out tanks, that flies low and flies slow, and needs to be able to deal, because you're flying low and slow, you need to be able to deal with small arms. Would canards be a solution to that problem? No. Absolutely not. That's way too complicated. A straight wing is a much better scenario here. Why? Straight wings cut the air much better at subsonic speeds than swept wings do, which is why they gave the A-10 a straight wing design. See what I mean? It's all about what you're trying to do. And in context of the A-10, canards are an extremely stupid idea. But in the context of a Eurofighter, for instance, it's a very smart idea. See what I mean? It's all about context of what you're doing, and that's what makes a difference. How slow is the A-10? The A-10 is subsonic. It does not go very fast. Straight wings don't do very well at supersonic speeds. Access. They don't do very well. Straight wings, however, are very good at cutting through the air at subsonic speeds. So like a straight wing angle. So your wing angle is 90 degrees off the vehicle. They're very good at cutting through the air that way. Because the A-10, you can't go fast when you're trying to target a tank that's moving. If you go too fast, you're only going to get it like 1 or 2 shots before you're either in the tank's front armor with your airplane. They got a word for that. The Japanese did that in World War II. Not really a good idea. Wasn't really designed for that. Or you have a plane that goes a little bit slower, that's more heavily armored, that's designed to take the hits, take the shot, kill the tank, and then fly away. There's also a significant difference in doctrine between the U.S. and Russia. The U.S. in near every conflict since World War II is focused on achieving air superiority first and going from there. Well, in the current conflict, Russia has ignored air superiority and put more effort into ground forces and ground-based air defense. Yeah, exactly. I think, here, let's switch over to S-24 coverage, dude, while we're here. I think that a lot of people in the West look at the Russians not having air superiority and say, man, they're so stupid, and not even bother trying to think about what they're trying to do. They're applying Western doctrine to Eastern doctrine, and I think a lot of people make that mistake. And that's based off of just what I see people saying, like on Twitter and stuff, and, you know, defense analyzation and stuff like that. A lot of people want to be a defense analyst, but not a lot of people are qualified to do that, myself included, which is why I don't talk about it. But it's important to understand that doctrine could be different. And what looks like a win from your perspective could be a difference in doctrine. And that doesn't mean necessarily that the other side is doing bad. You know what I mean? All right. Let's see what's going on with Ship 24. But, you know, screw rational thought, right? Like, no, we're winning. Yeah. That's, you know, just not looking at what's actually going on in the war and just saying you're winning all the time doesn't really end well historically, but what do I know?